Welcome to CMO Dialogues hosted by Anika Sharma, the podcast where marketing leaders explore the intersection of creativity, strategy, and technology. From AI to data-driven storytelling, CMO Dialogues explores how C-suite leaders are reshaping customer engagement and driving growth. Bold insights, real stories, the future of marketing straight from the mavericks.
Hi, Bala. It's so nice to see you here. In fact, these are the first few episodes of the CMO Dialogues podcast. My name is Anika. I am representing the CMO services at LTI Mindtree. And it's really, really an honor to have you here to discuss why this conversation is important in the first place. Obviously, you're from Bain, but I would leave it to you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Anika, thank you. It's fantastic to be part of this dialogue with you. And having known you for a while now, I'm very happy that you're doing this. So congratulations. And I'm very happy to be part of this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the reasons we're having this conversation actually is you. So, we've been in touch for the last, I think, 2.5 years, and you work with as, one of the leaders for the retail practice, right? In the US. One of the things you always speak about is how even when it comes to tech, conversations have to happen with business. It all has to start from business and with business, right? Now at LTI Mindtree and at many other service providers, I believe our first port of call is actually the CTO or the CIO, right? But it looks like there seems to be a shift in the market. So first and foremost, why even talk to the CMO? Why should tech companies talk to CMOs, and is that a conversation that's even worth having?
No, it definitely is. I mean, I don't need to tell anybody that marketing is one of the most essential and the most important functions. And in today's day and age, um, marketing has and is undergoing a significant shift, right? Uh, Ever since MarTech was called MarTech, even before MarTech was called MarTech, technology and data have started playing a significant portion in the next evolution of marketing. When we went from analog marketing and word of mouth marketing and more print and ads to the digital marketing of how to arrive guests into your websites, how to do personalization, to what we have today with generative AI. The role of technology and data is only increasing and will continue to increase in marketing. And while the CTOs and the CIOs are doing a fantastic job in enabling that technology, data, AI, and analytics, the CMO understands and has the interests of the customers and understand what the customer needs and wants are for their business counterparts. So uh, mature companies, leaders in the space that I see are where CMOs and CIOs and CTOs actually work together.
Together, yeah,
And because at the end of the day, they all want the same thing. They all
yeah,
want their customers to be happy. They all want their organization to deliver the right kind of services to their customers.
yeah,
It's just they come from it at a slightly different starting points.
yeah.
But and for companies like tech companies, um, everybody should talk to the customer, and the proxy for the customer in a marketing angle is the CMO. And hence, if you really want to deliver the solutions that meets the needs of the customer, it is extremely important for them to have that constant dialogue and the touch point with the CMO.
Now, you work with some of the largest brands in the world, retail brands in the world. Now, this sounds like it almost sounds like achieving world peace, right? I mean, if it was this easy, every organization would be having their C suite sit together at a round table, right? Where there are no corners, right? So there's no one more than the other and making this work. So, what is the issue? Like, and why is it important now that this conversation happen versus, say, I don't know, 20 years ago when perhaps, right, it was okay for people to work in their own boxes?
I mean, just like we continue to strive for world peace, and we all should, it is important for us to have that constant dialogues, right? Again, it is not, I mean, we're not talking about supremely complicated things here. Um, I mean, a lot of times, if you think about the agenda of the CMO, the agenda of the CIO, there are different things. right? A CMO runs a lot of complicated operations in their organization. A CIO or a CTO similarly has a lot of technology platforms, a big technology program, so on and so forth. Um, the most important thing where I see organizations kind of miss the step is aligning on a common vision on like what is that we are trying to achieve for the marketing aspect or the digital marketing or the martech aspect of it. And the common vision is always customer back. Like, what does our common vision mean for our customers? And then really think from the vision as to like what are the various pillars of how do I actually achieve that vision, and which then translates into your technology programs, your data programs, so on and so forth, right? A CMO constantly hears from the CIO or the CTO that you know um, we have broken technology, we have broken data, our data is not of great quality, um, and hence everything takes longer, or we have other priorities in place. Like if you wear the hat of the CMO, that's what they're hearing. On if you put your ears on the CIO side, they're like, we don't really get right priority from the CMO. They keep changing what they are asking for, and they also go to other vendors and
Yeah.
try doing shadow IT, which really increases the tech debt and actually makes our lives a little bit more complicated. So I think everybody is trying to do the right thing, but they're trying to do the right thing in their own divergent ways. It's
Yeah.
coming together, and like I said, for places where I've seen this really work is when CMOs and CIOs are really friends, and they are actually thinking about what is that common vision and working from that common vision. Because let's face it, at today's day and age, it is extremely difficult to have a CMO agenda that does not include tech, data, AI. Like especially with the explosion of Gen AI, your data needs is only becoming more important, not less important.
So when we spoke about Gen AI, I remember a few months ago, you know, I know you believe that Gen AI is here to stay, right? It is not like the metaverse or something, or NFTs, which perhaps were a phase and may come back. But it's something that organizations could choose whether they want to dip their toes into it or not, right? Whereas it looks like the amount of investment that companies are putting into Gen AI, right, is only going up. Can you shed a little bit of light on where is Gen AI heading from your perspective? What are you hearing from the C-suite, especially from the CEOs and the COOs that you work with? And how does that fit into, how are organizations trying to map this out?
It definitely comes with a lot of promise, Anika. And what is different and fascinating about Gen AI is that the use cases of Gen AI are wide, varied, and at different altitudes, right? You can have a very simple use case that will help a shop floor person to look up procedures, right? Today it could be 500 pages of PDF. Tomorrow it could be a very simple chatbot, right? Um, it can help software developers write better code and be more productive. It can help, somebody in the finance department or in the HR department or in legal department scan through multiple pages of document and actually make sense out of it, right? So if you think about it, here is a technology or here is a tool that goes so varied that across the value stream, irrespective of which business line you are in, it is helpful, right? That is a very important reason why I believe Gen AI is very powerful, right? And
And
I'm
here to stay. And
and
here
here
to
to
stay.
stay and
Yeah.
here to stay and evolve, right? Yes, there is this question of how expensive is it? Can I run my own models? Should I rent somebody else's model? We are having conversations about small language models here from large
Oh,
language models.
uh-huh.
um, and with what is happening with DeepSeek, the cost of actually taking their model, running it
Is
in
also
your
going down.
also
Yeah.
going down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the classical case of the semiconductor prices going down. So everything, it's the same trend that's happening. But one thing that I'm seeing is, if last year was all about let's do more use cases with Gen AI, this year is going to be about what do I need to do to actually scale Gen AI and actually take value out of it? So if you think about last year as experimentation and a lot of proof of concepts, and let's actually get excited about the promise that Gen AI can give us. This year is, okay, now that I have actually played it in my small lab in a corner, how do I actually make it? Like, can I, for example, can I use code assistance for my entire software engineering? Now, what does that do to my overall software engineering footprint? What does that do to employing SIs? How does SI's cost structure change with? So there is a lot of these questions that remains to be answered,
Answered and seen,
right?
yeah.
So, but what is also happening is as we are scaling this, two or three things that were always important is becoming more important because Gen AI is shining a light on them. See, we
For
always
instance, for instance.
we always know that it is extremely important to have platform rationalization, right? We always knew that you need to have good data platforms and data quality. We always knew that you need to have good operating model between your business and your technology teams.
Yep.
We always knew you need to have good integration to connect everything so that your data flows so
Because
on.
that was not rocket science, that was just good business
Good,
sense. Yeah,
good
okay.
practices, right? But now here comes a technology which for you to scale, you need all this to work.
Yep.
And if you can scale it, the value is not 10x, 20x. We're talking about values of much, much higher, right? So when you have a technology and a productivity, paradigm that is significant in value. Now, not only do technology executives harp about data quality and platform integration and platform rationalization,
But
it now
business
becomes
people
the
are.
agenda of the CFOs and the
Yeah.
CEOs that, and when they ask like, hey, why can't I not scale my Gen AI
Hmm.
solution? Well, you cannot scale your Gen AI solution because we have 15 different platforms doing the same thing. We don't have data quality, and if you do this, you see the value on the other side, it is phenomenal. So now you have this amazing opportunity, and many of my clients in the retail industry are CIOs in the retail industry are actually using this as a once in a lifetime moment to say we now have a fantastic opportunity to actually fix the things that we wanted to fix for a really, really long time. But again, it's just easier said than done. I mean, if you think about it, we've had moments like this in our past. We've had moments like this when we had, Web 2.0. We had moments like this when we had digital transformation. We had moments like this when we had AI, ML, and analytics, right? The precursor to Gen AI. But I think what makes Gen AI useful and different is it is a tool for the masses, right? My high schooler uses Gen AI. It is also a tool and a productivity platform for organizations. So it is very varied and the value is pretty high. And now I think organizations will take the underlying data technology platform rationalization integration needs a little bit more seriously than what they have done in the past.
So it almost seems like, so two things, right? One is it almost seems like the CTO, CIO, the CMO organization is naturally coming to common space thanks to Gen AI. It almost seems like even though they had common objectives, like you started by saying, they're all trying to come to the same place, which is I want to please this consumer that is constantly changing and evolving and behaves like a 3-year-old. I know, right? I want my things, I want them in the middle of the night. I'm browsing at 3 in the morning. Why am I shopping for things at 3 in the morning? Who knows, right? But that's my time, and therefore I expect my brands to be there. And so what I'm coming to is that it almost seems like with Gen AI, I think CMOs are realizing that they will not be able to scale or even do anything unless they have the CTO and the CIO as their ally, right? And I think the CTO CIOs have realized that for Gen AI to even work, they have to really understand what the business, right, business objectives are and how does that marry into this, right? Now, so uh, from some of our conversations earlier, and tell me what your thoughts are on this, it almost seems like this is not even a CTO CIO CMO conversation. This is actually happening at the CEO level. Am I right? Is the Gen AI conversation that is happening, is that something that is actually a CEO agenda? Do you see that thus?
It already is. There are very few organizations where the board is not questioning about what is your Gen AI agenda. The CEO is not asking his team members about, how do I actually use Gen AI to uh, do better to our customers, improve our productivity, be a better provider of services to our customers, etc. Right? So um, it's already there, and it's happening. I know of many CEOs are actually skilling themselves on what Gen AI really means. Um, and we have helped many of the executives to really like understand what does Gen AI really mean. Um, and and to be honest, Anika, I think what is also happening is it, with Gen AI, we are also moving into this world of agentic AIs, um,
Yes.
where it is not just one small function that is
Yeah.
done by one small large language model based solution, but actually autonomous set of agents that can actually do end-to-end activities for you. If you're a if you're running a very large customer service operation, are there specific intents that can actually just be handled autonomously by end-to-end agents? um, can agents actually push you back between checking what my account balance is to actually going ahead and applying for a add-on card in your partner's name, like so. And all of this, and the technology is already there. I mean, and the Gen AI and large language model actually makes it better because of its ability to understand and process natural language, right? It is able to really understand your intent, and pass on that intent to purpose built agents, which can then integrate with your enterprise system. So, I mean, you can actually use agents to do grocery shopping in Instacart today, right? Every large language model organization is releasing their own agents. Uh, so more and more of these agents come into workforce every day. The more important will be your enterprise integration and your enterprise data and your enterprise systems, right? That I think that's what we are going to see. That's just a natural evolution of what's happening.
While you're saying all this, I'm smiling. So, those who are watching this as a video podcast can see it, but those who are listening to it audio wise, I was at the Salesforce Education Conference and I have to tell the summit. And I have to tell you, I got excited because I actually got a chance to build an AI agent. And I was, of course, as you know, I'm also a faculty member, I teach. And so I was literally building it to say, I'm sure that this, university has got Salesforce in the back end. And I'm using a lot, learning management system like Classes or Brightspace, but I don't see the integration of the two, right? So I was literally asking, I was hands on with somebody from Salesforce and they said, go for it, like ask what you can do. And I said, how do you help me know my students before I walk into class so that I can actually personalize my teaching to what this particular cohort is versus, for example, during the fall semester or during some other year. And that was a very interesting use case. And it was really, I was so fascinated and excited by how human it could be, to your point about, how can it go from answering questions to actually proactively suggesting something that you might need to actually even knowing when to hand it over to a human versus you telling someone, I want to speak to an agent. So how do you really know, how can the AI agent define where to take you next, right? Now, let's come back to budgets because budgets are obviously, a small but important part of this conversation, or maybe a large but important part of this conversation. And budgets are always limited. So, considering that Gen I is going to need some kind of investments, right? Especially if it is a C suite level and a board level agenda, how are organizations looking into, where this money is coming from to concentrate into, the areas of AI, especially Gen AI?
I mean, if you really elevate it up to a cost budget conversation on this, um, the technology is different, the potential is different, but the conversation is not that different, right? I mean, it is what is the value that I'm getting? Because it's not a one-sided conversation of just budget. You have the cost on one side and you have the value on the other side. And it
Yes,
is
but the money is still limited, right? I mean, if you look at it, marketing budgets are limited. I think CTOs and CIOs are having less money to play with, right? Because consumers like me are demanding things that, they change overnight. And yes, it is correct that consumers should have gotten spoiled, right? With overnight shipping, with things that you expect, whether it's shop online, land up in stores and get it. I mean, there's so many things that if one company is offering it, I expect every other company to give me that, even though they may be at different points in their journey, right? I just expect it because now it has become something that I'm used to. So, but where's this money coming from? How are organizations navigating? Where do they spend less and where do they spend more? Or is that also an area of advice from Bain, right, to organizations, especially the retail sector?
I think you kind of answered your question in your question, which is customers expect it, and
Yes.
customers expect it more than what they did.
We demand it. As
Exactly.
customers, we demand it.
And if you're a organization, you're always serving some customer or the other, and especially if you're a retailer,
Oh, yeah.
it
You're
is
serving the
extremely
most difficult customer of all, right?
right. So if customers demand it, then retailers will figure out a way to
Hmm.
do it. And there are multiple ways for them to do it. Like um, if you think about a lot of organizations, cost transparency is a very important topic because
Hmm.
for you to really know where does the money come from, you need to know where what are you spending your money on today, and especially with respect to technology budgets and product budgets and engineering budgets, it is important to understand what is the um, how is my budget being spent. So cost transparency is on one side. The other angle or the other aspect that an organization to look at is um, have a very critical and a robust look of the list of programs and projects that they are doing, and taking a ruthless view on rationalizing it with respect to the value that Gen AI and agentic can actually provide you today. Are you really spending the right portion of your budget on the stuff that provides you with high value? How much of your budget are you spending on your run versus build? That's a very important
Hmm.
question that a lot of
Hmm.
organizations don't actually look at on an ongoing basis. And from our analysis, we see that most companies actually spend a significantly higher portion on run than grow or build. Um, so
Whereas it should
our
be the opposite.
it is not the opposite. There is always a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely need to run your systems. You
Mm-hmm.
absolutely need to make sure that the systems provide the right services to your customers and your internal employees. But what is that right run to
Build
grow,
ratio. Hmm.
right? And it is different from different types of organizations, right? But the question is, a lot of times we go in this mode of and we saw this during digital transformation is let's keep build. Let's uh, Anika asks for feature number one, tomorrow she's asking for feature number two, then feature number three, then feature number four, 3 a.m overnight shipping, etc.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we've been building, and this is like almost like patching things on top of it. And we've actually, many organizations, especially retailers, have a pretty brittle set of systems in place. Now, we know that when you have a house that doesn't have the proper foundation, the
It's
upkeep
going
of
to,
the house is
yes.
going to be increasing all the time. So now, if you have the same X amount of dollars every year, the ratio of the dollars that is going into your run constantly increases. And as a result of that,
You
the
don't
ratio
have enough money to
of
build.
dollars
Yeah. Hmm.
to build or grow
Hmm.
constantly decreases, right? And now you go into the spiral cycle of I don't have enough money to build, so I am not
Yes.
actually able to provide the features to my customers, but my customers demand that features.
Yep.
Okay, let me do this patchwork on top of already a feeble building that
Yep.
increases the run cost
How
again.
can
So
that not break at some point? How can that not crack at some point, right?
exactly, right? So a lot of times when we talk to customers, all of these things need to go hand in hand. You cannot just look at uh, one part of the answer. Your technology systems architecture, your data systems and architecture, to your what how are you prioritizing your features? Who are you saying yes to? Who are you saying no to? How does that map back to your budget? Cost transparency. So there are these multiple levers um, that needs to go hand in hand. If you think about a proper technology strategy, all these needs to work together, and
Yep.
that's why the job and the outlook of a CIO is getting more and more complicated than
Yep.
less, because um, and on top of all this, um, you know Gen AI is causing a significant, um, I would call, disruption in the
Yep.
way we do everyday work. So to give you to not belabor the point anymore, I think um, there is no there are multiple angles to look, and there are multiple levers to pull when you look at cost. But at the end of the day, uh, value is the most important lever for you to look at. And how do you provide value by not um, adversely affecting your underlying technology systems and platforms and your overall operating model, is the name of the game. And that's the
Well,
challenge
the
that.
definition of value will also be changing, right? Morphing, right? I mean, what was value earlier? I didn't even know that I wanted my package in 2 hours till Amazon started delivering my packages in 2 hours. No, right? Sometimes I think, Bala, that the Amazon guy is hiding in the bushes, waiting for me to order because it comes so quickly. It's like in 3 hours it's here. And I have to tell you, as a consumer, sometimes when Amazon gives me the option of like, okay, let me consolidate your packages and bring it all in one day, I actually take it. I'm like, I do not need this tomorrow. Please do not, rush it. It's okay if you combine the packages. And I'm assuming I'm not the only one, right? But still, I'll never combine the packages in such a way that it'll come after 5 days, right? I'm still expecting it in 24 to 48 hours. And I don't care if other organizations haven't caught up with Amazon. I'm expecting everyone to be an Amazon, right? So we are getting spoiled for choice as consumers, which brings me to the question of, if, to your point, every organization is supporting some kind of, or is catering to some kind of consumer or customer. And as you are the CEO whisperer to the retail companies, some of the largest in the world, what is keeping CEOs awake currently at night?
I think rather than what is keeping CEOs awake at night, I think the question is, as a retail CEO, what are the things that they should be looking forward to, or looking in
Or
the next.
excited about? Yeah, okay.
uh, I think you know everything boils down, again. I think it might feel like a broken record, but everything boils down to what your customer needs are, right? I mean, the point that
Yeah.
you mentioned about Amazon delivering things that you just starting to think about, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but the question that everybody should be asking is, how is Amazon able to do that,
Yeah.
right? um, and Amazon has provided the answer themselves, right?
Yeah.
They have some amazing analytics, and they have some amazing data that knows that in a cluster based algorithm, people in this in this section order these type of things, and
Yep.
let's talk our warehouses that is close.
Warehouses with that so that we can deliver it in 2 hours and give them the true customer delight that they're expecting. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Now, does everybody need to do what Amazon does? Not necessarily, but you kind of need to take the problem at hand and
Mm.
devise the solution that is using your own strengths. Walmart,
Mm.
for example, um, delivers from their stores.
Yep.
When I order stuff from Walmart, the guy who actually works in my neighborhood Walmart delivers this, and it comes sooner than what Amazon can deliver, right?
Because Walmart has X amount of stores and therefore they have X amount of warehouses. Therefore, their ability to deliver at agility and speed is higher. Maybe that's why I think the latest earnings, right? It said that Walmart has for the first time superseded Amazon's earnings. And I mean, that's amazing because those two are literally at loggerheads in terms of competition. And I think we've all been privy to how Walmart has continued to morph and change and be relevant in the world of Amazon, right? So, to your
Exactly.
point, it's possible, right? That's what you're saying. It's possible.
It's possible, but you kind of need to, like, instead of just trying to do what Amazon is doing exactly, you need to understand. okay, this is the problem that Amazon is trying to solve. How would I, as a retailer with my own strengths and weaknesses, solve the same problem for my customers? Like, for example, if you buy online at Walmart, you can have stuff delivered to your house, but Walmart also has amazing inventory visibility that it'll actually tell you that, hey, we can deliver it to you, but if you're just if it's 2 miles from your house, if you're just driving by, why don't you come to, aisle 21, shelf E? It's right there. There are 14 items of what you're looking for available. Come and pick it up. And they know that when you walk into a Walmart,
You'll pick
you're
up
not just
29
gonna
other things.
exactly right. So the beauty is, what has Walmart done? They've actually used their physical stores
Yes.
as a competitive advantage that Amazon does not have. Now,
Which, by the
Amazon,
way, they took them 10 years to come to that realization, right? Meaning, I don't know why that should have taken that long because they've always had that competitive advantage. Am I right, Bala, or did I?
they always said, I mean, Amazon tried to have their own stores for a while,
Yes.
and they do not anymore. But so, but if you think about then what Amazon also used for their competitive store, their stores and partnership is for returns. Like, you can walk into a Whole Foods, you can walk into a Kohl's
Yeah.
today to do Amazon returns, which has now freed up a lot of their delivery persons to just
Yes.
focus on delivery.
Including UPS. So it's almost
Exactly.
like your Amazon return is an arm's length away.
So,
So you talk,
so the
yeah.
question is, the lesson learned in all of these things is, right. Um, the, the thing that we are trying to solve is what is required for our customers,
Yeah.
and we need to solve based on our own strengths and weaknesses,
Strengths and mixes. Yes. Okay.
right?
From your
And
perspective.
and
Yeah.
and, and a Walmart should not be or will not solve it the way Amazon will solve it, and Amazon will not solve it the way a
The
Target
way,
solves it.
yeah.
Target
Yeah.
will not solve it the way somebody else solves it. They all solve it in their own way. And the technology is only like making it easier and at the same time more difficult for everybody.
Let's come back to the CMO. I believe the CMO's role is only becoming harder instead of easier, especially as the CMO's job, in my mind, is the person who has to be the voice of the company to the consumer and the voice of the consumer to the company, right? It's sometimes, when we are in these beautiful conference rooms, you sometimes forget who is the real consumer that you're catering to, right? Especially for a consumer goods company, because to them, it's the Walmarts of the world that are their customers, and therefore they forget that there's somebody buying, from the Walmarts of the world, which is actually ultimately their end consumer. So, do you believe that the CMO's role is morphing? And in your mind, what is the role of the CMO in an organization, and how can they actually play that to their advantage, or partner with in their advantage?
More than the CMO's role is morphing, I think CMOs um, have a lot of tools and products and platforms to use to deliver value to their customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like in the one of the recent surveys that we did, that talks about like what are the top, segment of use cases
Yeah.
that will be driven by generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
In the top 10, a significant portion of that is focused on marketing, be it customer engagement, be it customer service, be it content generation, be it personalization, be it localization. A significant portion of that is all focused on, so if you think about the evolution, there was a period when marketing was all quote unquote analog.
Yeah.
Then there was a period of digital transformation and digital marketing that led to the evolution of martech.
Yeah.
And many organizations are still riding that wave. They're still going through that cycle. And now we have something with generative AI. What it is doing is, it is not only is it impacting end customers, it is impacting the actual marketing operations itself.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Um, Today, marketing content does not need to be hand coded, handwritten anymore.
Nor does it
Your-
need to take that much of time for a
correct,
turnaround.
correct. Your large language models can actually write the content for you, and there are products which has large language model embedded that can actually take your brand guidelines and your organizational tone guidelines into consideration. So when it
And
actually
create
writes,
content for,
it,
yes.
exactly, right?
Yes.
And it is not just textual content. It can create images and videos,
Yeah.
right? And we are only scratching the surface here, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you think about we are always worried about or enamored about CMOs external facing
Yeah.
need, but we need to also think about CMOs internal operations, content creation, marketing workflows, marketing flow
Hyper
workflows.
personalization, quick
Yeah,
turnarounds, right? In
exactly,
terms
right.
of personalized journeys, all of that.
A large language model can actually write the content for your marketing journeys. It can actually create the right set of workflows for you, so on and so forth, right? So um, this is a this is a very important shift because you know so far your internal operations was very, very similar. You were focusing more on how do you actually take what you manufacture internally and deliver it to your customers through digital
It was
channels.
also very human driven,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And today, all that is changing. And what will that do is because you will now have an ability to rapidly iterate, more rapidly than what you're doing now, right? The amount of time you need to react to a social construct or a new event that has happened, you can create a marketing content on the fly. Now, if you recall the point that we spoke earlier about, how do you integrate your enterprise systems to these things? Imagine if you are having a marketing workflow that is connected to the various social events that are happening, that is connected to a large language model content generator. Now, if all that is connected and integrated with the right workflow and approvals, then you have a always on,
Yes.
non-stop
Yep.
personalization and content.
Engine that is working for you
Right.
to bring value to the end consumer. I think value is a word that I think you've really really emphasized on today in this conversation, and which brings me back to what we started with, right? So here is a CMO who wants to offer value and understands that there is an opportunity to change even marketing ops, right, with Gen AI, and it's a real need, right? Now, in that conversation, the last, in your mind, what you think the CMO is responsible for and the CMO can do today, right, in terms of offering value. Speed seems to be of the essence, even more today than yesterday. If speed is of the essence today, then how is the CTO and the CIO going to answer to that? Because, S4 HANA transformations still take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, other kind of integrations still take time. So it almost seems like it's the turtle and the hare story, right? It almost seems like there are two different speeds in the same organization with the same objective of giving value to, the finicky customer like me or the finicky consumer. So where do you see this? Because I see almost like a, difference gap between these two, even though the objective is the same. Are you seeing the same as well?
I mean, you are going to have that all the time. I mean, with applications that require high levels of deployments, customizations, testing, assessments will continue to take time. Um, there has been huge improvements. Like you spoke about S4 HANA deployment. S4 HANA deployments are only getting faster and faster, and also Gen AI is improving with that. You can now create test scripts. You can
I
create
was going to
synthetic.
say quality assurance must be such a big thing that Gen AI can help with. Yeah.
You can write user requirements, like all that is like so. A large portion of classic software development lifecycle is now being automated and made quicker through generative AI. So you're always going to have if you think about the agenda of a CIO or a CTO, they are going to have these big long programs that requires different types of processes,
Yep.
and they are going to have product teams that are rapid, nimble, delivering code every day or once in a week, so on and so forth. So there is always going to be this thing. Uh, if you're thinking about a architecture, what you really need to think about is how do I actually build an architecture that makes sure that whatever is required for the clients, for our end customers, are delivered at the same time a long-running project like this happens, right? And there are many patterns that have been established like this. I mean, this is not something that we are trying to invent, right? I mean, we have done this for many, many years. We have had, order management system replacements at the same time we have built e-commerce solutions. We have
Yep.
had, retail banking solution at the same time we will have banking core modernization, so on and so forth. It's
So
like
these
how
can run in parallel, actually.
it can and it should run in parallel.
Yeah.
You one thing cannot wait for the other,
Yeah.
and there are established architectural patterns and facades and APIs and you know uh, a distributed architecture approach, so on and so forth, that can actually help. One thing we have not actually touched upon, and which is very important in all this, is the role of data, right? Uh,
Right.
we talk a lot about applications, we talk a lot about operating model, we talk a lot about how CMOs and CIOs and CTOs and others need to be working together. Uh, but what the common thread or the common currency that is running through all of this is
Is
data,
data. And
right?
lots of data, right?
And lots of data.
Yeah.
And um, and you know, if you think about so far, before the advent and the power of Gen AI being discovered, uh,
Yeah.
organizations have spent millions of dollars in structured data, right?
Yes.
We have had
But the power lies in.
correct. So the structure, if we have spent a lot of dollars in figuring out what is the data governance, what is the data quality, how do I
Mm-hmm.
actually make sure my data is clean, how do I have the perfect ETL process, but it's all about tabular data with relationships and very structured. And if you think about it, a organization has a ton of unstructured data
Unstructured
that has
data.
never been used.
Yep.
Let's talk about things that we usually forget.
Yep.
User requirements sitting inside Jira and Word documents pretty much should tell you exactly what your systems are and what are the business rules in the system. We
Yep.
never mind that, right? Service records from our customer service logs will tell you what problems your customers are facing and
Absolutely.
what have you done to fix it. Like that,
Yes.
that's a
In fact, what is the repetitive problem that customers are facing,
that,
right? Yeah.
that's a gold mine, right?
Yep.
We've never done a great job mining that information, right?
Yeah.
Um, so now we are now moving towards okay, what does data governance and data quality and data hierarchy means
And
for
clean
us,
data, right? Clean, consistent data
and how does unstructured data coexist with structured
with
data?
structured data. Yeah.
And this is a paradigm shift, and the more mature an organization becomes, um, what they are seeing is that AI, ML, Gen AI, all those things are not sidecar in a separate thing. Those features, capabilities are actually part of your actual architecture stack. You need to start thinking about how do I actually enable AI use cases on my normal transactional systems, right? Um, and how do I actually do that so that my unstructured data is treated in the same way as my structured data? And how do I ensure that the architecture is actually ready for the AI age that is well upon us right now?
It almost seems like these are fast moving times, but these are exciting times, right? So,
Good.
yeah, for sure, right? And it almost seems like Gen AI is becoming a leveler, like because everybody knows only that much. Maybe some companies are catching up more than the others, but everyone's starting ground seems to be almost the same, right? No matter which category you're in. So, I mean, we are all getting, like I said, front seats to this wonderful transformation that is happening. And I couldn't think of a more exciting time to be here on planet Earth. Having said that, obviously there are lessons about some companies doing it better than the others, right? So, as this is a conversation about why is it even important for the CMO and the CTO and CIO to have this common ground to make these amazing things happen in the organization with agility and speed at the heart of it, what are the three things, Bala, you will leave, for people to look into, for CMOs to think about, and also I think for CTOs and CIOs to keep in mind. What would be your
I'll try to limit to three, but if I go to four or five, I mean, start with the customer. Like it's a no-brainer. Always start with the customer. Always understand what your customer needs and are. and go from there. The second thing that I will always say is, um, be comfortable with change.
Hmm.
It is, everybody has heard this, change is the only constant, but
Yeah.
especially with what is happening with AI and agentic AI and generative AI, we are going to see more changes coming, and we are going to see that it is going to impact um, our internal operations and what our customers demand from each other.
Hmm.
Leaders need to be ready to embrace that change. The other point that I will mention is, you every organization needs to be having an operating model that can help them run different types of projects in parallel.
Hmm.
You cannot you know um, there is a lot of we had a lot of these digital organizations and teams that looked at digital alone, so on and so forth. That is extremely challenging, because every digital need will require a integration back into their core systems.
Yep.
So how do you actually run these things in parallel and delivers value continuously is a very important thing. And then, last but not the least, your operating model. I can I've you and I have spoken about this multiple times. I mean,
Yeah.
you cannot really be successful at delivering uh, uh, digital solutions to your customers if you're not thinking like a digital organization, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what I mean by that is, how do you make sure that your technology data organizations collaborate very well with your product and business teams? How do you ensure that there is transparency in what everybody is doing? How do you ensure that there is clear prioritization and portfolio rationalization that is happening at a constant basis, so that we focus on, I mean, you spoke about cost, right? There's
Yeah.
only X amount of dollar, like, but how do we actually make that X amount of dollars focused, or be focused on the right things and the most important things, right?
Yeah.
And and none of this is easy, but none of this is kind of new. Like, organizations have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
uh, it's all become pretty important and pretty vital right now because of what's happening. So I think those are, I don't know if I stopped with three, or if I did four or five or six, but um, I mean, and then we have great examples of this in many industries that we can all look up and aspire. So, yeah, those
Yeah.
would be.
I have never come away from a conversation with you, Bala, whether it is, obviously on the CMO podcast or when we have conversations, outside, just even our phone conversations, without obviously learning something and being smarter. And today is no different. Outside of the three that you're leaving us with, which absolutely are, I think, should be part of a playbook, right, for every organization. One of the things that I take away, I think, is, just always continue to focus on value, and if you look at what that value is, then you can decide which part of that budget needs to focus on it, right? And I think the second thing that I take away is definitely this conversation about the build and run, where you have to continue to be on the build, because that is what will add the value, and but obviously without compromising on the run. But if you only concentrate on the run, then somewhere you're going to come to a point where you will not have any money for build, and then that will be a very difficult, I guess, COO conversation, CEO conversation, or board conversation. So, Bala, thank you so much for being part of this very important dialogue. I inherently believe that the CMO, CTO, CIO dialogue is one that should be happening in conjunction in all organizations. And I really want to thank you for your pieces of advice on it.
Fantastic. I really enjoyed this conversation, Anika, and good luck with the podcast, and hope to talk to you more about this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to CMO Dialogues, powered by LTI Mindtree. We create transformative digital experiences that reach over 1 billion lives, driving deeper brand connections and lasting impact. Subscribe on your favorite platform so you never miss the insights shaping the future of marketing. Bold insights, real stories, the future of marketing straight from the Mavericks. See you next time on CMO Dialogues.